We appreciate you joining so much on to our podcast. Really, we started this 6-ish months ago, and it's really been fun to connect with the leaders of our partners and really our audience, our IT directors and executives of those companies that we work with and all companies. And we want to introduce them to the leaders of our vendors. And so we appreciate you on coming on here, sharing your experience, and we really look forward to getting to know you and to asking you a lot of questions. So Josh will
Great.
take on the intro. Josh.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have Dan Nemechek. Did I get that right, Dan?
Yeah.
Nemechek or Nemechek, we say it either way in the home country, so whatever.
Perfect.
Well, we're glad to have you on here. You've been with um, 30 years of experience in the kind of the UCaaS telephony business. We were looking at your LinkedIn and are super impressed that maybe person that's been in this the longest that we've ever talked to. But really would love to have you tell us a little bit about as you joined ShoreTel in 2005. I of course looked back and saw that you worked at 3Com before that, which was my very first certification was on the 3Com MBX. So I
There you
was
go.
pretty interested to see. But we're excited to have you on with us, Dan. Tell us a little bit about yourself and maybe your journey here as you got into telephony and this industry.
Well, I think the favorite thing I have to say about it is the only side I've never truly worked on of this business is the customer side. I know I almost wish I'd done that, but I
Mm-hmm.
worked for a partner out of college for about 10 years, built a real successful state, local government education practice there with that company. And towards I'd say about 1998, that's the first time when NBX was the company came knocking on our door and said, "Hey, we've got this." And we were really just dabbling, doing some voicemail servers. We had a little key system type thing we sold that was kind of a niche product for car dealerships. They showed this to us and we went, "Oh, interesting." And there was this little thing called E-rate, where you could get some money from the federal government to ramp up IP devices. And it's interesting. I say I'm probably the oldest guy in the industry, longest in the tooth, that never truly sold a PBX, a TDM type system. I started in what 3Com called LAN telephony. Remember that term if you've
Wow.
birth significant. LAN telephony, IP telephony in about 98, 99, and never sold anything but IP phones and IP systems throughout there. So yeah, I worked that partner, have that perspective. Spent a little time at a startup that was doing some WAN stuff. Spent a little time, short time at a doing some consulting gigs, and then 3Com came knocking. Fun thing about 3Com is if you didn't like your job, you just waited a year. It was changing, as was your boss. We could walk through that, and I did kind of every role at 3Com, from a CAM to a voice BDR to a full-on account exec. And then ShoreTel, I had beat them on a couple deals, and they said, "Look, we don't lose to 3Com, so we really would be interested." Interviewed all the way up to CEO, and then it was a funny interview because at the end they said, "Well, wait a minute, what job are you interviewing for exactly? We've got several open. There's like this CAM type job, more of a named account, or SE." And I said, I have an engineering degree and I've never just been a pure engineer, sales engineer. So I took that, and that's kind of the rest is history. Every chance I get, I saw some, you had thoughts on leadership on this podcast a lot. And I was just got a new mentee yesterday. I'm mentoring a new person. And they said, "Well, how did you go from that sales engineer in 2005? Really, I did that till about 2010 to now you're the VP of all this." And I said, basically, I just did the Jim Carrey movie, The Yes Man, and I just kept saying yes. Do you want to run training? Yes, I'll run it. And you find out so many things. So that's where my journey through ShoreTel did. I SE to major accounts SE to running the partner development program to Then I took on global for about 4 or 5 years and presented ShoreTel in like 23 countries. I
Wow.
was thinking that I got my old passport back and go, yep, Costa Rica, yep, New Zealand, yep, Australia, all the places I got to go because of that. And then, yeah, in 2017, the acquisition of ShoreTel by Mitel happened, and sort of the same thing again. I kind of ran the gauntlet there. I started out as like a chief solution architect on the ShoreTel product, going around and helping those partners, kind of get it going, helping Mitel fix some of the things that, let's be honest, ShoreTel had kind of neglected, start to get that rolling. Then, as you know, UCaaS 2017, 2018, everything's going to the cloud nonstop, no breaks, everything's UCaaS. And so I ran the UCaaS team from about 2018 to 2020. And then Mitel said, well, wait a minute, separating these teams, doing all that hasn't worked out like we thought. We're going to unify it all back together. And they said, we want you to be the VP of all sales engineering. And that was quite a cliff to look out over with my toes on the edge, because at that time I think Mitel was supporting something like 11 different platforms, so
Jeez.
most of which I hadn't very little experience with. But I just grabbed the leaderships and we built a team around it, and we rock and roll on as we are today. So that's how we got here.
That is great. What leadership lessons have stood out as you've watched your leaders, as you've taken over leadership roles? Tell us anything that stood out to you, or a few
Well,
lessons from what you've seen and through your experience.
yeah, that whole thing of, don't stop having no as your top vocabulary when it comes to helping the company. Now there's other things people will try to get you to do that you have to say no to. So I guess it's that yes no. But more is, if you want to go up the ladder, you want to learn more about your company, it's just saying yes. When someone says, oh, Bob left and he was kind of our leader on, sales enablement. Okay, well, I'm a pretty good seller. I like to teach people. Let me run sales enablement for a while until you find another person. And it really allows you to dig in there. And then the other thing I'd say is, just never. I had a person I worked for at the university. We were in the library, the AV department, everything like this. Her name was Connie. And the thing was, you'd call in sick one day, or you'd say, man, I got this overload of tests, I can't come in. And the awesome thing about her was, I'd come back in and all my work was done. She didn't sit back in the office and say, well, I'm not going to recatalog all those videos. I'm not going to, deliver the AV stuff that are supposed to be delivered. She did that. And she goes, I figure if I've got the time to do it and keep the department running, I do it. So every time someone calls me up and says, hey, we're short on people, I need someone to fly to, Fargo and do a presentation, the leader is, go in and do it. Just jump in there. You're maybe the GM and the head coach, but you can also get in there and, I probably can't play quarterback anymore, but I might get in there and, block as a guard or something like that. So I think that's the biggest thing in leadership is, really don't expect somebody to do something you wouldn't do. And I've just kind of kept doing that.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it sounds like you've
amazing.
been very successful. I think especially in technology, we don't see people who have been at a company as long as you have, through acquisitions like you have. Um, what what has made you successful doing that?
One time I remember we were sitting around and someone said, we just thrive on chaos here. And I said, that is kind of the thing. It's like, if remember that game Missile Command, it's kind of like you're just putting the blockers up here, and I kind of thrive in that environment. And we did a big employee engagement survey here, and they asked for volunteers to work on the areas that needed the top improvement. I just raised my hand immediately to volunteer for that. I just feel like that you've got to be looking at all areas of the business, learning more about all areas of the business. But if you don't get in there and put your stamp on it, or listen to what's going on over here, you can't fix what's in your bubble. And in fact, we had this conversation. There's some of these cross org functions going on, and it's like, okay, this is the sales, marketing, and I forget what the other one was. And someone from Brazil raised his hand, and goes, "Why is services not involved in this?" And it's kind of a dead air. And I just immediately raised my, I said, I said, I just had a conversation with some of our installation and installation management group of going, they don't totally understand what we designed and sold over here. We're not bringing them in to the training in these. We were talking about groups that are learning about the new products as they come out. So you talk about maybe AI, agentic agents and things like that. They're over here learning how to install it, how to put it in, but they're not understanding what we're getting asked to put in by the customer, what we designed and what we sold. So we go, boom, there it is. And then you as a partner may say, hey, this is a little new to us. We want to resell Mitel Pro Services. Pro Services team is going, well, yeah, I know how to install it, but I really don't have a feel for what you sold here and what the project is taking on. So that's just an immediate like short circuit right there. Being on that call, we were able to say, oh yeah, when we do this town hall type meeting, services needs to be involved in these pre-product launches to see our opinions and our style of what we're going to do. So
What a
those are
great
some of the
insight.
ways I go.
What a great insight of collaboration, just getting all the right players in the room and how powerful that can be. It sounds like you've seen so many customer installs, things go really well and things go really bad. Any situation, maybe your most stressful situation, how you navigated it that you can remember, like how we pulled this off, even in a difficult situation? Anything come to mind?
Oh, I'm talking about those. I'm thinking about those ones that are just I call them the pebble under the foot. Everything else is running right unless you step just this way. And we've got a couple of those that we've had here recently that you've got one or two agents in a queue in a contact center, then the call's not getting delivered to them. All 30 over here, it's fine. This mess. Okay, so you're trying to eliminate. Do they have an older version of Windows? Are they using a different browser? They have some weird chip on their PC that the other people don't have. Are they hooked to the network in a different way? And those are really the ones that drive you crazy. What I've learned and what I just had this call again today with some of our services leaders is that moment of involvement from, especially when I work with the partners, and I really hope we talk a lot about partnership, but we have some partners that I understand they want to be the one to solve everything, and they wait too long to raise their hand and say, hey, Mitel TAC level 3 product engineering, please help. And there's a little bit of that, but one of the things I've learned is to take kind of the old, is it plugged in? Is it doing this? Is it doing that? Walk through that and see if there's anything obvious. And if there's something going on with calls not coming in your queue, your phone not ringing, not being able to make calls, to me, there's something like a 4 to 8 hour research path. And then at that point, it needs to escalate and escalate quickly. And when its calls aren't coming in, I always tell people escalate to one of your VPs at Mitel, escalate to one of the leaders. We'll move it on. We have a critical account program here that we'll put it on, and then immediately R&D is capturing packets. R&D is logging events that happen, so we can see what's going on, and we set a set line of communications to get back into them. And that's just with me. It's to the most stressful ones. Those ones you're just going, this makes no sense. It's this one off I can't solve.
How have you done this in the past? Because I think your advice or insight of escalate things quickly is something that can resolve so many things faster. And I think of the most frustrating times of a customer issue where it's just not escalated or collaborated on quick enough. And I'm sitting here saying, why is that not happening? And what can we do about that? What secrets have you learned to get people to freaking escalate things quicker? Like,
You hear this at the teams that are really good. You say, check your ego at the door. Do not set in a bubble, in an echo chamber of your own mind, trying to solve this and say, man, I've fixed things like this before. I know something. In this world with agile development, there's a .1 release. There's service packs going on in the background all the time. And so yeah, you fix things in version 9.2. Well, maybe this install you did is now 10.1 and there was a 10.1 service pack. Maybe they installed that and you're interacting with a third party or you're interacting with something different. As much as Mitel, as much as any SaaS provider, as much as anybody tests, they can't test every scenario that's out there. So the minute, I shouldn't say the minute, run through, you got to have a diagnostic checklist as a partner and as a frontline tech. But when those things just don't click, it's time, escalate, whether that's even just reaching out to your sales engineer and say, this is the weird behavior I'm seeing. I've opened up a TAC case. It's not listed as severity one or anything as of yet. Branch out a little bit. And when you talk to someone that works at Mitel or works at one of our competitors, whatever that is, or a LAN company, WAN company, and they go, yeah, that's weird. I haven't heard that. That should be your spidey sense to go, well, if the manufacturer's not heard of something like this deserves some severity. This deserves some escalation. So get in touch with the regional sales director, get in touch with your SE leader, and say, hey, we've got a real, we've got a little pot of coffee brewing here that we need to jump on. But again, just check your ego. Don't think you can resolve everything. And if it gets off your plate faster, you'll sleep better at night. That customer will be happier with you and you'll move on. It seems like we get called in. Sometimes it's 2-3 weeks too late that someone waits to escalate. And then we're in that critical account phase and the account's going, I want you to do this on your own sandbox and try to make it work before you even try anything on my machine anymore. Or then they start talking, I think you should refund me my money on this product and or we should start over. And I had one recently, someone, we should just reinstall everything, rip out all the certain. It's like, do you know how much work that's going to be? We ended up taking logs and we had a fix for them in 72 hours. We found out what it was. It was a security protocol they had turned on that our clients didn't like. We're getting blocked at the client level on the account on the agent software.
Yeah.
But our
That's amazing. I just think of all of the engineers and checking the ego at the door, how hard that is for engineers who just really they just want to be they want to solve the problem, right? They
yeah,
want to be kind of the hero, and that's what part of what they're doing in this is to really give the customers what they want, and sometimes they lose sight of that bigger success, which is you know moving up. And I remember telling people all the time, there's nothing, it takes time to escalate anyway.
right,
So
right.
you start escalation today, nobody's going to be mad if when they call you back in 4 hours, you already solved it, you
Yeah,
know?
and to be fair, the partners and the certified partners and technicians and engineers we have, again, I think the tough part is they can solve 90-95% of it. So I think they want to keep going on that. It's the ones I think that just move on and go again, get through your checklist. And if that isn't it, I know it's kind of like me with a car. All of us have a limited knowledge. I get, okay, if this is running, is that knocking? Is that doing something? Let me check the oil. Let me do this. If I can't solve it, it's you know straight to the shop and let someone take care of the problem before the engine blows up on me on I-15.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen.
That's a great analogy. I think, that going through that diagnostic checklist, and we all have one kind of internally, I think too, depending on the
Yeah.
situation. So,
Well, and one last thing, that's a great program at Mitel, and I know Valcom has their own. We for all of our gold and platinum partners, you have a technology account manager, a TAM, and that TAM is meeting. Usually, it's weekly, monthly, something like that, and that TAM has that lifeline, and they can cut through all of that for you And the ones I'm working with now, they don't have a lot of these. Again, like I said, I think we're running 3 critical accounts worldwide right now. There's one here in the US and there's 2 others. Then we've got a watch list. There's 4 or 5 that are always on the back burner boiling. In a lot of those cases, it's stuff we can't control. It might be a third party or a network, a SIP trunking provider issue. So we're kind of working with somebody else. But having that technology account manager on the ready and aware of it, and they can keep in touch, and we can work. Or this one was cool that we did with the patch on the agent software, because we would gather the logs, everything like that, hand it off, and then it's over in India. They're working on it. They're looking at the logs. They're building the patch. When India signs off, it goes to our center of excellence in Europe, and the Europeans start working on it. So while you're having your evening meal, sleeping, getting back in, having your first cup of coffee, there's 16-hour development cycle happening in Mitel around the globe to fix that. So you got people working for you, night and day to get that working. And it was awesome. The biggest problem we had was, convincing this customer when to do the patch, because they were kind of a Monday through Saturday business. So we had a very limited window, but they did say, well, like Tuesday's our slowest day, so let's patch it Tuesday. And then we patched it Tuesday, and it went from massive amount of errors to get into, there was another where we're troubleshooting 1 or 2 last agents, and then they figured it out on the PC. It was those security settings, and after 3 weeks of moaning, complaining, getting ready to rip the system out, I think it was something like 72 hours, we had the patch ready. So it's a great lesson, right? Just lean on us.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had a question. This is it an argument? Not sure with one of our leaders over here on the telecom side, but what is your take on kind of um, cloud versus on-prem? Do you see? I mean, we've seen such a big transition to kind of cloud um, telephony products and services. Do you see that continuing? Do you see? I think there's some people who believe that cloud. Some people are coming back out of the cloud. I just
Yeah.
wonder if you're seeing that on the telephony side, or do you see that kind of continuing um, and moving continuously towards cloud solutions when it comes to
Yeah, well,
products?
the interesting thing is we saw, we kind of saw declining revenues on product, which was what the analysts were all predicting. And the interesting thing was Gartner just quit analyzing the entire on-prem UC market because they said, oh, it's going away. I've had a lot of conversations. I go to Enterprise Connect almost every year. We have a lot of consultants we do business with, and they are. I won't say you're seeing that the parabola is going back the other way, but what we're seeing is our revenues flattening out to even seeing single digits growth in the product. And
Hmm.
I was with one analyst last year at Enterprise Connect, and they said that in the enterprise space, they were seeing high single digits of those that had gone UCaaS coming back to a hybrid or a private cloud model. So I think the way I sit down with people is I say everything is a cloud, whether it's your cloud that sits in your closet at the school district, or you've decided to partner with Equinix or Switch or Azure or AWS. That's a cloud. The nice part about the way Mitel does things is it can be put anywhere. So we sat down. We don't have that conversation. We ask what the customer. What are you looking for? Are you looking for capex? You want to buy this, or are you more inclined to say I just want to pay a monthly? Because we have, as you know, infrastructure as a service partners that can wheel this thing in and bill everything, including the SIP trunks, the management, the whole thing, like a UCaaS product. But you get all the benefits of an on-prem system, the survivability, the extra, the fact that we actually make our phones, unlike there where it's open SIP. So in general, we did see that rush to the cloud. I think it's been a little heavier in the SMB to mid-market space.
Hmm.
A lot of enterprise didn't go there. I think you guys do quite a bit with K through 12 education and
Yeah.
government. that's a very tough play to get someone in those places that work on budgets to say, okay, I need to fund, 12, $14 a seat per seat a month for the next forever. Whereas if you give me $500,000, I can buy a phone system, pay a a nominal support contract, and it's very much more predictable to their budget cycle. So it all plays in those areas. But again, we saw places where it just took off cloud. And to me, there's a lot of conversation. I have a lot of golf buddies, and they come, hey, how many phones do you have? What are you doing? Well, there's 20 of us. We do this, and I pretty much say, UCaaS is really the place for you to go. If you don't have someone there, you don't want to pay a partner to be there managing and putting in servers. You should really look at a UCaaS solution. But when you talk about a mission critical uh, system, you want to know where all of the Legos are stacked, so to speak. And that way, we're even seeing people now design multi-cloud, which is very interesting.
Mm,
Putting their primary in the data center they use for kind of everything, and then putting a backup in AWS or putting a backup in Azure so they can have multiple points of failover and say, well, I lost connectivity to that data center or a router went down in my main cabinet, but since I got a backup internet with SD-WAN, I just failed right over to the AWS or to the Azure closet, so to speak. So, but yeah, I think you're seeing a little bit of a market correction there now, and I still think UCaaS will be the dominant growth just because of number of businesses in that space and the ease button of doing it. But I think where Mitel has been the most successful, healthcare, hospitality, state, local government, larger enterprise customers, they have the horsepower in IT to manage that. They have cash reserves and they would rather buy the system and or some sort of hybrid of that. So I think that's where we see it settling in.
interesting.
Love that perspective. You had mentioned, well, first of all, you said golf buddies, and I see the Masters in the background. Is there a story about that one? I mean, talk about
Oh
that
boy,
experience.
that brings back the 3Com world. So in 2003, 3Com held a contest, and the top Cam, who brought along the most partners or best partner business, whatever, one in the East and one in the West got to go, and there were some other sales reps. But I had some of the top partners sell, and so I got to go to the Masters, and I would I think you're gonna have to go ask historians around there. I'm pretty sure someone from Valcom was at that event. I think they
I bet
were,
you're right.
and it was so cool. 3Com rented these houses by Reynolds Plantation, which is a great golf resort if you ever get to go there. It's about an hour from Augusta, and so we just had the time of our life. We had three big houses rented or four, and then you came together for all your meals. And then one day you got to go to the Masters. One day you could do fishing. You could play Reynolds Plantation, or you could go to the Ritz Carlton and have a spa day. It was the best thing ever. It was a great event, and it was a year Mike Weir won. I was at the Friday
Oh,
round. I was at the Friday round, so I got to see Arnold Palmer. I got to see Tom Watson. Just so many great heroes. Gary Player. That was a cool thing being there before the cut downs. Just literally watching the legends walk around. Jack Nicklaus, all this stuff, and Phil Mickelson almost won it that year too. That was the year he had a really wild comeback day that day. So what a great we've started talking about it. We're gonna get back there. Got to take my son. My son's been to the PGA with me and to the U.S. Open. We got to go to the U.S. Open a couple of years ago when it was at L.A. Country Club. And but uh, the Masters is hard to describe. That's all I'll say. Is until you step foot at Augusta and you just go, wow, the TV doesn't even do it justice,
Yeah,
right?
it's a special experience. I
it
think
really
we
is.
did have one of our leadership there at that event, and he talked about it a lot, and he tried to get back there a lot. So we We
Yeah.
appreciate the partnership. I didn't know that 3Com was the one that got us
Yeah, they got us in
got
there.
us into that. Talking
Yeah.
about partnerships, you've seen partnerships, you've seen small ones, you've seen large ones, you've seen partnerships that work and some that don't. What is the common thread that makes a partnership work in your mind?
Well, first, it's just to me what I see is it's got to be mutually beneficial. It's got to make sense for both sides. It really does. It's got to be. We've got a hole over here. You've plugged that hole for us. We can provide revenue to you for plugging that hole. So that makes you happy. And by you plugging that hole, we sell more, we make more, we push more revenue. We have that. And by in turn, we have happy customers. It's that way. And especially when you talk about sort of like an OEM partnership. And I think it's really the same way when we talk about partners who resell and maintain our products. Um, I see partners that have a line card this wide and this long, and we sometimes just run into it's like how can they expect to do well when this is the fourth different voice system they've sold this quarter. Whereas you see partners that'll have one or two, and they hire enough in the organization, and they have a focus area on that. So if the partnership's also got to, like I said, mutually beneficial, but it's got to have enough revenue and enough, stake behind it that everybody says this is important. We've got to just dedicate some bodies to it. We've got to have specialists. It can't just be oh yeah, we sell that widget too. It's over here on this shelf. Let me go find it. It's got to be somebody in the business is front of mind with that. And you're right. I think that probably the biggest issue with failed partnerships is you sort of misdiagnose the market you're looking at, and you misdiagnose what's available in that space, and maybe over rotate to it. That's where I see the tough ones that we have. And we had that a lot in ShoreTel. You guys would probably remember there for a while we were signing up almost any partner that could hold a pencil and fog a mirror, right? And one of the things I think mistakes we made was some of them we let them stay partners, and well, they got this one big deal, let's keep them on. Well, the worst part was when they sold that deal, what were they going to do? Because they'd never done one before. Then we had to go in, so it wasn't a partnership anymore. It was just ShoreTel, Mitel, go in and do this all for them. And so that's why great partnerships like ours, where, sometimes we probably don't even know the deals you're working on until it's about ready to sign the contract. And we step in, make a few adjustments here and there, help you with the final kind of contracts and things like that. That's what a great partnership is, where we don't even need to know about each other, but at any minute we can step in and work for the other one.
I love that. And I think when we were one of the top ShoreTel partners, and then we had a huge competitor, Rocky Mountain Voice and Data, back in the day, and we were very upset that ShoreTel would sign up everyone because it got really competitive, and then it wasn't a win. And we eventually ended up merging with Rocky Mountain Voice and Data, and having that focus of a team that was solely focused on voice made a huge positive impact for our customers. And just like you said, the focus and aligned customers and alignment really is
Yeah.
what it comes
Yeah.
down to. So
That,
you've seen that. Well, I appreciate that insight. Anything as you think through kind of the IT directors you've been involved with over the years, and our audience of executives, any insights, kind of last minute thoughts of like how you would tell direct and coach an IT director on how to get their executives to understand technology and to understand the importance of investing in technology.
right. Yeah. Um, very interesting. I get to it's fun living here in Las Vegas. You get to go to a lot of events. Sometimes, obviously we don't exhibit at Contact Center World and AWS this and Microsoft or Cisco that. But generally, one of our OEM partners, one of our larger partners is participating, and they invite me down. Hey, so and so that's a Mitel customer is going to be here, so let's take them to dinner. Those are the great conversations I get. Or we're doing quite well in converting a lot of these hospitality customers on the strip too. And I sat down with a lot of CIOs, IT directors, COOs, and I just asked the question, what's keeping you up at night? What problem do you have to solve? And the you get that, elicit that out. And one of the COOs told me, he goes, well, first off, if I don't get people starting to use video kiosk check-in at our hotel, my owner's going to send us all packing, because the fact of people still trying to check in with three or four humans at consoles, and you see the lines every weekend wrapped around the corners. He goes, with and he showed me, he goes, with video kiosk, look at this. And I'm not kidding you. I hit four keys and we were checked into the room and it spit the cards out. And I'm like, but people will still stand in line. And he goes, yeah, they think they can bribe for a better room and all this stuff. So he was looking to solve that problem. Then he said, my other problem is maid safety. He goes, we've had some real problems with, guests attacking maids, or, making it real difficult on maids because they knock and they don't know they're there. And we've been charging Android and Apple phones they can take with them, but that doesn't really work. And so he was willing to invest in any technology that took those pain points away from him. And as an IT director, you should be finding out, what does the C-suite want to push this year? So, Mitel has our set of 3 to 4 corporate imperatives that we look in every year. And the one big operational one this year is simplify, simplify, simplify. So we want to come to the table as sales engineers with every idea. How can we make it simpler to quote? How can we make it simpler for the partners to support themselves? That sort of thing. I guarantee you, whether it's a hospital, take a hospital or a healthcare, for example, they're thinking about something, whether it's patient experience, speed of patient getting checked in, follow up with that patient. And IT should be finding out what those imperatives are and saying, let me find the technology that can solve my leaders' real issues that they're getting hit with at the board. And yeah, I think probably stop thinking about it. Oh, it's the neatest. It's a cool company. They got a great Super Bowl ad. That was neat. They've got the fastest widget. They've got all this underlying software that talks about it's great. But what is it doing to solve those day-to-day issues, workflows and productivity gains? I think that's the biggest thing and we're really pushing this year to tell our sales reps, don't even talk about the product until you've found out those imperatives, those drivers as to why they need a new contact center. They need to add AI into their business daily. They need a better communication system on the hospital floor. Then we can go through there and recommend some great solutions at the end, and help them solve those problems.
That's great advice. I think we've seen it a lot. IT directors not understanding enough about what the business needs and what they're trying to accomplish, and certainly if you can connect those two things, you can have some great success. So what a pleasure to have you on with us, Dan. It's been great to chat with you and get your perspectives, and really appreciate you joining us.
Thank you so much, Dan. We appreciate you sharing your insights on the Tech to Exec podcast, and we just love and appreciate the partnership. You're an important partner to us, and when it comes down to it, it's all about the people we get to work with, and you've made the companies that we've got to work with great, and we really appreciate it. Our customers have been happy with your solutions, and so thank you
Yeah,
very,
and I
very
don't know
much.
what the deal is. We've got so many people up there in Salt Lake. We just joke that we need a Mitel office up there. We've got my Brian Flandro, who's been there and been through the journey with me as well.
Yeah.
Corey Shelton,
Yeah.
right? You're back in Charlie's there now, and I also have another guy that works on the OpenScape team. So whatever. I keep seeing Brian at these Mammoth games, and I'm wanting an invite, but I never get invited to these games. He just keeps going without me. So,
Thank you
all
so
right,
much, Dan. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Dan.
appreciate it, you guys. Have a great rest of your week and a great weekend.
You as well.
Take care. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.